Welcome to Belize.
When is the last time 5 of us were in the same place at the same time?
To old friends.
The house, retirement, Belize. You think it's legit? Don't you?
Philo, there's something on the bottom of your pool.
It's schoolyard rules around here. Somebody pushes, you push back.
Are you saying we stole this boat?
You just implicated us in piracy.
The boat belongs to a psychopath. He's very dangerous.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Let's go. Let's just
If
go.
we run, they will track us down.
You made your choices. I made mine.
Thought it was a nightmare.
What's going on down here?
Oh, it's so true.
Have you done something wrong?
Don't go walking slow, 'cause the devil's on the loose.
A cat just walked in.
We're not safe.
Get back in the car! Get back in the car!
Hey, take that off. We're a team. We're best buds.
No, we're not. We don't even like each other.
Tell me the truth and I will send you home. They are your friends, but they are not your family.
We heard everything you were saying to her.
I don't have to have loyalty to any of you.
We're not gonna make it out of this, are we? You didn't enjoy your stay?
Wonderful. Really fun. Wonderful time.
Run through the jungle.
Thanks, everybody. Romany, thanks so much for being here.
Let me post my shit to the internet.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Take your time. How's everybody doing out there? You guys good while he does? We can just...
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
Press is hard to get, man, and so when someone's willing to give you a slot, it's really flattering.
Well, it's a good show.
Thank you.
It's an incredible cast,
Thank you.
including you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
How did you become a part of this? I know it was a pilot that you shot for Amazon, right?
Yeah,
And it's been
exactly.
picked up.
Exactly.
All 10 episodes, right? Are going to
All
be
10
February
episodes.
22nd, I believe?
Exactly. We shot in Puerto Rico to substitute, Belize. So we did some pickups in Belize, but most of it was shot in Puerto Rico.
And it looks
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, when I was watching the pilot, I said something along the lines like, wow, Amazon's just throwing money at shows now. This is does not look like anything else on TV.
Yeah, I got a note yesterday that said, "Do not mention how much we spent on this pilot." But yeah,
I did not get that note, so.
they were definitely more interested. Look, the point is to streaming television is that when we put up our pilot, right? You had to. People got to vote on whether or not this pilot was picked up by Amazon. And I think that really demonstrates what we have here now. It's not this thing where network television puts something on TV, tells you when to watch it, and what to watch. Now you determine what you want to watch when you want to watch it. And I feel like in honoring that, this is the opportunity to get a lot of the stuff that you can't get on TV. And this is definitely one of those shows that, it jumps from genre to genre. 1 minute you're laughing, the next minute you're terrified, the next minute it's an action show, the next minute you're crying. And I just always wanted to be a part of something like that. I didn't expect to get to work with these guys in that process, but...
When you signed on, were these guys involved yet?
When we signed up, Steve Zahn was the only person that I knew of that was involved. And instantly I was like, wait, I get to work with Steve.
Had you worked with Steve before?
I had never worked with Steve, and I've been watching him for a minute and been like, whoa, that dude is invested. When he plays a role, he is invested. And so the opportunity to work with him was very attractive. And then and then Ben Chaplin and Mike Imperioli came on, and I was like...
It's a crazy cast. And then you have Billy Zane in the pilot as well.
Billy Zane, yeah.
And Billy Zane is kind of I think because of Titanic and a number of movies in the 90s, I think for a lot of people of a generation, if Billy Zane shows up, you go, Billy Zane!
Yeah, exactly. Everybody,
where did he come from?
And he might be the best looking man in entertainment,
Did you tell him that?
And, yeah, all the time.
Have you awarded him that?
Oh, yeah, my mother did. My mother, like, boy, he is cute, boy, Junior, that boy cute, boy. Hey, Junior. She watched him on the show, and she was like, he can't be white. I'm like, yeah, Ma, all right, cool. But so I'm always like, Billy, please don't flirt with my mom. Whatever you do, no.
Did he flirt with her a little bit?
No, not yet. Not yet. No.
No, you didn't catch him FaceTiming with her or anything?
But he's always winking when he makes videos saying hi to her, you know. But anyway. But yeah. And so anyway, I don't know. I will just say that the pilot will definitely suck you in.
It's great. It's fantastic. I watched it yesterday.
Thank you. And every single, what happens is the process is that we give this to press before we do interviews, so that the press can develop their own opinions of it, and then they can ask us questions if they're informed. And what they've been doing is they've been handing out like six episodes to most people, to most of the press. Every single person I've worked with who's gotten 6 episodes have watched all 6 episodes. And there was even one guy from The Talk. He figured out a way to hack in and get the other 4 episodes and watch the whole damn show.
I only got one. I only got one episode, man.
Yeah, I know.
I would have watched the other ones last night. I was hooked after the first episode.
Thank you, and and that's what they do. They sit down and watch the whole thing, which gives me a sign that it's pretty good. But because you have people who get your shows and then they're like, they go to interview you and you do this whole show and the show is about the history of a black renaissance in Harlem, and you get there and their first question is like, you like dogs? You know that they haven't watched your show, So this is a really good sign that people are into it. And I think that because this was arranged a bit last minute, I think that may be why you didn't get all the episodes that you could have gotten.
So do you like dogs, or what's the deal with that?
I like mad dogs. What you know about that? No.
Nice.
I thought I was going to be clever and everybody was going to be like, yeah. Didn't work.
So when you signed on to do this, you signed on, Steve Zahn was a part of it, and the guy who wrote the pilot, Chris Cole, right? Where had he come from? Because this is it's a really incredible pilot.
This is really awesome, actually. So Chris Cole is a guy who was in a 90s rock band back in the day and had it was like a one-hit wonder, kind of like me, right?
Do you know what the name of that band is?
I can't remember.
Someone Google and shout it when you get it.
It was like Do Tell I or some shit like that. But anyway, or I don't know. Look at me, Do Tell I. No, but anyway, he went on to become a writer, and he created this idea. He was like, you know what? I can write 4 episodes of this mini series called Mad Dogs about these guys who go on this crazy romp. And he starts writing it, and it caught on so well in England or in the UK, that he ended up having to write it as a full series. So every week he was having to come up with a new episode, and to him, he kind of regretted that he never really got to flesh the story out and think it through. So being able to remake it on Amazon, he had the structure of those first 4 episodes to go off of, and then also a team built around him and the time to really prepare and write out the story the way that he wanted. And
were you nervous after the pilot? I mean, the pilot is such a great setup for where it can go. It's almost like one of those things where it could be a one-hit wonder for a writer. Were you nervous after the pilot got picked up, or did you have an idea where it was going to be going? Was that pitched to you?
No, that's a good question, and I love dogs. No, I'm playing. No, that's a good question, and no.
I grew up with Springer Spaniels myself.
Springer Spaniels?
Yeah, they're just great, sweethearts. Love those guys.
Great Danes. I have an American Bulldog now. She's in Puerto Rico, but...
Purebred or
purebred. Well, technically not, because there's the standard and there's the Johnson of the American Bulldog breed. She's a mixture of both.
Okay.
So she has a longer snout, so she kind of looks like she could be a boxer, but she's got the build of the solid, traditional American Bulldog.
Do you find that people, the general public, responds a certain way to boxers and bulldogs? Are they afraid, or?
Well, I think that it's interesting that they pick up their children when they see my dog, and it's true. People pick up their dogs, they pick up their children when they see my dog, but my dog thinks she's a lap dog. Oh. Yeah. And she's very, very, there's this stigma like, oh, I swear to you, I live in Puerto Rico. I live in this place that's, fairly exclusive. And the first thing they told me when I got there was that my dog has to be on a leash. I was like, but I haven't seen one dog on a leash. And they go, but your dog's a pit bull, right? I'm like, what else are people scared of that I should chain up? You want me to chain up some niggas? Would that make you happy too? But anyway, every dog, so here I am walking around with my dog on a leash. Every single dog we encountered is off leash.
So your dog's looking around, what the fuck, man?
Exactly.
What is going on here?
Yo, man, yup. So anyway.
We were talking about,
I'm sorry. What are we talking about? Yeah. So we got off topic, I'm sorry. You know, I wasn't nervous because I really had faith in the writer. I really had faith in Chris Cole as a writer. I think that Chris Cole had a very strong vision, and we had those 4 episodes to go off of that were really solid, and we just tried to improve upon those. Now, once we get to episode 5, we're gone. We're out of the stratosphere. We go to a completely different place. But no, I didn't, because of that security, which is the first time I've ever done something that was a remake, but because of that security,
Yeah, you don't. It's not even that you just have a body of work of somebody else's. You actually have a body of work that is a clear, almost doppelganger for what you're doing.
exactly, and so it informs you, you know, and like I did a movie once with Paul Rudd early in my career called The Chateau.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to Paris and just kind of like it was an experimental, back then when no one was thinking about doing digital, we did a digital movie.
Right, it's mostly improvised, right?
Mostly, it's all improvised,
All
yeah.
improvised. The guy who directed, Jesse
Peretz.
Jesse Peretz. He went on to do basically one of the main directors for Girls, like a lot of
Nurse
stuff.
Jackie.
Yeah.
He did Our Idiot Brother.
Yep.
And sold that to the Weinstein. So yeah, he's a beast. Jesse's a beast. He's very good at what he does. And you know, we did this movie, but it was not aesthetically as pleasing as the movies, you know, that we were competing with. It was done on little Sony cameras. And so we had a lot of other studios come to us and be like, I'll give you $30 million to remake this movie. And you know, to really think about it, it made me go, wow, if you think about it the fact that it was improvised and that we were able to piece together this story, what we really did was we did an incredible workshop that could have then been developed into a, you know, bigger, more aesthetically pleasing movie, you know? And
Why didn't you guys do that? Were you actually considering doing it, or did you end up not wanting to?
Because we were young and free and we thought we had captured everything we wanted to capture in our art at that time.
How do you look back on that?
I look back on it, and well, looking back on it, that's what I concluded was that, oh wow, if we had have interpreted this as a great workshop, you know, we could have probably built upon it, you know. And we were actually in the process of trying to think through something to do just like that. And I kind of look at work that way too, where because of the fact that digital is so accessible, why not workshop your stuff on digital camera before actually going into work and filming the real deal? You know, it's a great way to get a sense of what you're going after, you know, from the way it looks, from the tone of the movie, the type of actors you need. I think it's the way that things should be done in the future.
No, you were in 40-Year-Old Virgin. I mean, you did this movie, The Chateau, with Paul Rudd, that you just said was largely improvised, if not all improvised. Do you have an improvisational background? Is that where you come from?
Yeah, I come from a West Indian family, and so everything's improvised. Everything is improvised. It's like, you know.
Yes, ending each other all the time. Yeah.
Yo, I swear to you, like my dad is the type of dude, when we were living in Queens, my dad would run over a possum on the way home from fishing trip at 2 o'clock in the morning, get home, turn on a pit in the front yard to burn the hair off of the possum so that he could clean it and eat it later. I'm not even making this up. Now, that smoke of possum hair is disgusting and it gets into your house, so the next morning, when I would go to pick up my friend on the way to school and I would smell the possum hair in his house, I just make excuses like, did y'all have a fire? That's improv. I'm like, did you?
So your background is just covering up the smell of possum hair.
Yeah,
a
man.
very original background for an
Yeah.
actor. It's
Hey,
possibly never heard that one before.
No, it's true, man. Growing up in a West Indian family, you know, you're having this battle between being an individual and assimilating because you're made fun of for not being, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, you want to fit in, but at the same time, you're like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, so I think
You have more stories.
You have more stories, but it's the people-pleasing nature in you. You know, I became very much of a people pleaser, and I genuinely believe that improvising is a byproduct of needing to make people laugh and make people feel comfortable in my presence. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was 40-Year-Old Virgin a turning point for you?
Yeah,
like
it was.
so many people in that movie? I mean, you see it as a turning point for Rogan, Rudd, Carell.
It really was, and it was extremely challenging for me because, you know, when you have a big mainstream hit like that, everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to make a movie with you. And the things that they were talking about for the most part, just genuinely were not appealing to me. I don't think that I really have mainstream tastes. So I run into people in the street all the time. They be like, hey, well, why you ain't doing more movies, dog, man? You ain't you run out of money, dog. You gonna get broke, cuz. You got just.
Talking about me, that was me like a week ago.
You
Sorry about that,
broke.
Romany.
You broke? You broke, huh? They don't want you in the movie no more, huh? Cause you too white? Huh? Or, or it's like people come up to me all the time and be like, why haven't you done anything since 40-Year-Old Virgin? And I'm like,
You've done a
while I've got the #1 movie in the country. I'm like, where have you been? And it taught me that the country is extremely divided in its viewership in sense that there's a mainstream viewing audience and there's an urban viewing audience. It's not like how I grew up watching, idolizing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's not like that, today. Things are very divided. And
but 40-Year-Old was kind of a crossover for that, right? It's sort of for urban viewing audiences as well as mainstream audiences. It was all over the map.
It did. It became a huge hit. So it was extremely difficult because the offers that I was getting, to me, didn't feel authentic to me. And so you were torn between wanting to take these offers because it's nice to be wanted, but also wanting to stay true to yourself,
Well, for example, what would one of those offers be? It doesn't have to be something that's been made, but like a kind of archetype that would be thrown at you.
Oh, like, you're going to be a baseball player who hits a lot of home runs and you fuck a lot of women, and then you're going to learn. I'm going to learn what?
That life is awesome as a baseball player who fucks a lot of women.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't know, man. It's hard to explain to a mainstream audience or people who are addicted to mainstream narratives, why you don't want to be involved in those projects. I just know that for me, growing up, when my friends were talking about Star Wars, I was talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I was talking about Woody Allen, And
But that's got to be pretty hard to stay true to those interests when stuff gets thrown at you, when the dollars get thrown at you, if they do for movies. I mean, I know you're doing this, you're doing Blunt Talk, which is sort of along the same lines as what we're talking about in terms of your interests. It's not necessarily mainstream.
Yeah.
So it must have been pretty hard for you at times to...
Extremely.
And there had to have been moments where you're like, I guess I'll do this one now.
No, ultimately what determines if I'm involved in a movie are the people in it. And I've just kind of stayed true to that. I did a Mike Myers movie that was intended to be mainstream. I just wanted to be next to Mike Myers. You know what I'm saying? And the things that I learned from Mike Myers.
That is the Mike Myers movie whose name we will not mention. No. Love Guru, right?
Love Guru. Yeah. Love Guru. Yeah, the movie. No, when I read the script, I actually really enjoyed the script and I loved the message. And sometimes what happens is in the process of making a movie, things get compromised and people get nervous and then they start making nervous changes and quite often, things suffer. And if you don't have a director who is very clear on his vision, he'll get steamrolled by the studios, and that's pretty much what happened.
Wow, is that something that you could see happening while you guys were shooting it?
You can see it unfold every time.
Really?
Absolutely.
And how do you take that as an actor? How do you maintain any sort of confidence to go in front of the camera and do your job?
It depends on the type of people that are involved. So, if they're crazy divas and you got to keep your mouth out of it because you don't want them to turn around and threaten. And I've been threatened all kinds of ways in this industry by producers who are really well known, and you just learn to be really careful and not step on any toes. But if you can, you create an alliance with the director and help build the director's confidence to clarify and be steadfast in his vision. And that's usually one of the most successful ways that I have found to handle it, is to give the director your permission to be decisive in his vision. Because a lot of times you've got these young guys who've done a lot of stuff, but they may not necessarily have done a huge film with huge stars, and so they're kind of wishy-washy and wanting everyone's opinion, And that's a sign of weakness, which we can smell easily in this business, and you'll get taken advantage of.
So you really start to understand why directors and even celebrities sort of keep a tight-knit circle.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there's a lot of things too. Also, a lot of times, people make associations and refer to one another as friends in this business, more so for the marketability of it, and as well as for the opportunity to create opportunities together, but they're not necessarily friends. So the tight-knit circles that you're referring to quite often come out of, how do I separate myself from the opportunist and align myself with a group of people that I actually enjoy creating with. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keeps it so fucking real. I'm so
I think
sorry.
I think it's fascinating.
I can't help it. You know?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's because you've been in so many different worlds as an actor. You're not just
Exactly,
a
yeah.
comedy actor. You've been in several different types of movies with different massive stars around you or up-and-coming stars that you were
Exactly.
rising with as well. So I imagine that you've seen several different elements of the industry unfold in front of your eyes.
No, exactly. It's so funny as you say that. I was telling someone asked me, what movies I've done. I was telling about the movie that I did with Robert De Niro, Morgan Freeman, Michael Douglas, and Kevin Kline. And they were like looking at me like, what movies? I was like, it's Las Vegas. It was in the theaters. And my buddy goes, ask your grandmother about it. And, but it's true. I feel like it's crazy. When I really look at it, one of my earliest movies, I was the nemesis to Vince Vaughn in in an independent film called, that name escapes me right now.
Pre-Swingers? No.
No, it was post Swingers, but I worked
Nemesis to
with
Vince
now
Now it's in my head.
Yeah, it was called. it was kind of like. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And and then I worked with him, and then like I said, I did this movie with Paul Rudd, and then I went from that to doing like the 40-Year-Old Virgin. I got to and work with all those guys. I got to work with Amy Poehler, Tina Fey. I've gotten to work with Will Ferrell. I've gotten to work with John Heder. It's like Morgan Freeman, Michael Douglas, Kevin Kline, Kevin Hart. Steve Buscemi.
So,
I've done
Romany,
one with Steve Buscemi.
the real question is, who was the biggest dick? No, I'm sorry, just kidding. Don't answer that.
Who has or who is?
You can go for that one if you want. Yeah. That's on your plate if you want to.
I have found the more successful and the more experienced, they tend to be the more laid back, the most laid back, and the coolest.
Yeah.
And the people that are struggling to find their footing or not quite as grateful or haven't had that longevity, so they haven't gotten to the place of understanding how grateful they should be, they tend to be a bit more difficult, to be quite frank.
I think I have some time for audience questions. Anybody questions out here? Hey, man.
Hey, Romany.
Hey, man, what's up, dude?
This is a fucking big deal for me.
Thank you, man.
I'm a huge fan. Like, I've been a fan since, 40-Year-Old and then Weeds and then Baby Mama and all your stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, man, Lewis Parker.
Yeah, so it's a big deal for me.
Thank you.
I saw 40-Year-Old when I was...
What's your name, man?
Isaac.
Isaac, pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
So when I was like 15, 16, it was the first time I saw a 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I got to tell you, like, the sophomoric, immature advice you gave Andy, it got me laid, and got me laid throughout high school. So thank you so much for that. But what I really want to know...
I didn't want to know that.
But what the question really is how much of what you said to Jay, as Jay, how much was that your own wisdom? How much was that improvised? How much was that was actually on script?
Great question.
Thank you.
Man, I begged Judd to take me out of that movie. I begged him because one, my mother's an ordained minister, and two, I didn't really know how to act. So everything that you pretty much see is a depiction of myself at some point in my life. And there was a point in my life where I was genuinely that dude. So people come to me and go, oh, you did such a great job, such a great character. They don't realize that it's been 10 years since that role occurred. And so I've evolved. So who you're looking at now is quite different from Jay from the 40-Year-Old Virgin, thank God. But I used to run around like that for real. I used to dance like that for real. All of that shit is for real, for real, for real. And embarrassing. So by the time the movie was edited and Judd was like, and I kept asking Judd, please, no, seriously, my mother's an ordained minister, my character seems obnoxious. He made me come to a screening because he wanted me to see how the audience responded to it. And I still couldn't accept it. They were going crazy and I just couldn't accept it. So pretty much you heard a lot of my skewed, hoish ways.
Do you think that's why Judd cast you, though? Because he knew that you were going to be you on screen and that you weren't sort of relying upon the tools of an actor at that point?
Judd made me realize that a lot of casting am I still answering your question? You good? You get it? Yeah. Judd made me realize that a lot of casting is really exploitation. You kind of like, you catch them where they are and you use it while you got it. And don't get me wrong, Judd wrote a bunch of funny stuff in there. When I would say stuff, he's the one who'd be like, whoa, what was that? And he'd go, write that down. And we write it down, and he'd make us do it. So it was actually him pulling stuff out of regular conversation. He had the genius ear for that. But also, What was your question again, dog?
Do you think he cast you because you were going to be you on screen rather than you were going to be an actor portraying you?
We did about 7 hours of improv together before he hired me. I came in, I did like 2 hours. I came in, I did another like 3 hours, and I came back again and did 2 hours with Steve.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I think that he was like, this dude's a perfect train wreck.
Let's take our next question.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm also from the West Indies, and I know West Indies parents are very strict. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to know what did your parents think about you going into acting, and how did they react?
Maybe you could make some money, boy. Maybe. My parents from a very what's your name?
Muriel.
Maria?
Muriel.
Marielle.
Yeah.
Muriel, give the money microphone and go and sit down now. No, I'm playing. Nice to meet you, Muriel. Thank you. Yes. To answer your question, I have one of the most unique experiences of most people that I've met from the West Indies. If I'm on set, the other day I was on set and I ran into a dude, and the dude was Armenian, and he was on set. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he knew what I was talking about. This is us. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, bruh, you're first generation. He goes, yeah. I go, why aren't you a lawyer or a doctor? Because anyone whose parents are immigrants, they're told the American dream is you come here, you become a lawyer, you get your education, you become a lawyer or a doctor, right? And then you get paid and you get rich and you're successful, and they can tell everybody, my son is our doctor. My son is our brain surgeon. You see how Donald Trump, my son do that. My son go in the brain and do that. I mess him up. Yeah, because he would have be a trouble thing as a president, Okay, and so anyway, the long and short of it is that my parents were unique in the sense that from birth, they always encouraged me to be in entertainment. I had a knack. This is really sad, but a friend of ours in our neighborhood got shot, and a dude in my neighborhood wrote a rap about it when I was like 7, and he said, I heard a shot, I heard a cry. I said, Timmy, did you have to die? And I was like, you can talk about your feelings like that? And pretty much from that point forward, I was rapping, and I had a record deal, as you know. May not know, in like 89, I had a hit record in 91, toured all over the place with a bunch of people. And my parents have been supportive all the way through. And so when acting came along, my dad was like, yeah, listen, come. Tell Steven Seagal I have an idea for a movie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think that I just had a very unique experience. And I really believe that, if you're encouraged, most of the people that I meet in this industry knew what they wanted to do from an extremely young age. And with or without the encouragement of their parents, they continued through. And so I say to anyone, if you have kids or whatever, just really allow them, like Malcolm Gladwell says, allow them to get their expert, certification from doing it as young as whatever it is that they want to do. If they want to be an engineer, if they're into agriculture, it doesn't matter. Just encourage them to do it from young. I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be hard on my niece. If she's ever like, Uncle, I need money for, I'm like, how are we gonna raise the money? What kind of business are we gonna start?
I want to know if your dad ever met Steven Seagal.
No, he passed away before he met Steven Seagal, but I got to work with Steven Seagal. And
How was that?
he was a lot like my dad. Look at these hands. Look at these hands. These are young hands.
Next question.
Sorry.
Hi. First of all, I Googled Chris Cole, and the only Chris Cole that came up for being in a band was the guy who Rockstar was based on. Is that the same Chris Cole? From Steel Dragon?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, I was like, really?
Because it's CRIS. I didn't tell you that little tidbit. My bad. Yes.
Would have known that. Also, we had the pleasure of meeting at the FX Upfront years ago, and you introduced me to Tijuana Jackson.
Oh, right. Ex-convict turned motivational speaker.
Yes. That's
oh, yeah.
The one. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, my question for you, is there a brighter future for Tijuana Jackson?
Absolutely. It's nice to be able to talk about this in this type of form. But yeah, I wrote a script, and some financiers really liked it, and we're in the process of casting. So in order to get it effectively finance, I had to go and attach people to it. So a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years, I had to call and humbly ask them if they would do me the favor of doing a cameo or being involved in it. And I got all the letters of intent that I could get, and that was how we solidified our financing. So the next step now is to shoot this incredible movie about an ex-convict turned motivational speaker.
I love it.
I'm telling you right now, dude, it's the funniest shit. Dude gets out of jail and he's set on being a motivational speaker, but the stipulations of your parole are very inhibiting. They're like, no, you need to get a job and show me check stubs. So him trying to navigate around the system of being an ex-convict to become a successful entrepreneur. Thank you so much for asking. If you don't know about TJ, I'm gonna just give you a taste. Y'all want to taste the TJ?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can do this. So he looks nothing like me, by the way, but he's motivational speaker, really proud of himself, and he's like, by a show of hands, who here believes that they're living a dream? Show of hands.
See some
If you
hands.
think you're living a dream, put your hands up. Who thinks they're living a dream? Okay, cool. Okay. Now by a show of hands, keep your hands up. Keep them up. Keep them up. By a show of hands, who here wants more? More respect, more autonomy, more sex, more love, more happiness, more control, right? Okay, good. I advise y'all to take a look at the people with their hands up, right? And avoid them, because they fucking liars. Okay? Now, what if I told you that the reason you are yet to live up to your full potential is because of one moment? One moment has reduced you to a nigga wanting a champagne lifestyle with Bud Light pockets. I remember my one moment like the shit was yesterday, okay? When I was about 8 years old, my uncle tried to put his finger in my asshole while I was asleep, but I caught him. Took about 7 hours of surgery to get my foot out his fucking larynx. I fucked his throat up good. To this day, when that nigga talk, he sound like, what's the name of the big old buff dude that won the Grammy in the 90s? Big old strong dude, with the afro that used to work out. Macy Gray, sound like that nigga.
I love this. I love this. So it's like jail room banter turned motivational speech. It's fucking brilliant. It's such a great idea.
Thank you. And what inspired it is that you really do. I grew up, and this is the thing. This is the problem with our. You got to wrap me up.
No, not you. Me. I think if you go back into the motivational speaker, we won't stop anything. Oh.
Somebody says wrap them up in America. You don't know what that shit means. But anyway, it's just that I grew up in a community where there were a lot of people who were, flawed. Like real life. People are flawed. And it really puzzles me why in entertainment we try to depict people as being so perfect, so either or. There's no such thing. We're a little bit of every fucking thing.
Or starting from one flawed place and going to not flawed at all.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like there's so much gray, and this binary narrative is extremely toxic to our society because we allow this media to inform our real lives, and it's nothing like our real lives. In fact, I have a theory that that's one of the reasons that 67% that immigrants have a higher chance of succeeding in the United States than we do, because their orientation is different. They don't buy into the same narrative that we are fed every single day through our media. So anyway, sidetrack. But what Tijuana Jackson comes from is the fact that we're flawed people. And I grew up in a flawed hood where people would give advice like this. They'd be like, hey, let me tell you something about love, okay? Cheat first, because they're going to do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I always thought that was fascinating that these people had such good intent, but they were so unresolved. And 9 times out of 10, when you're preaching what you need to hear. You're preaching to yourself, right? So you preach what you most need to learn, and that's where TJ evolved from. Heavily flawed characters, heavily flawed people with great intentions. And the great thing is that TJ is actually quite profound. He's got some really interesting quotes. Life is too short because we wait too long to start living it. It's pretty good. Life is like a vending machine. It's full of change. Early bird gets the worm. Early hawk get to eat both them bitches. You know what I'm saying? Anyway.
Man, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to see it. But for those who want to see you now, Mad Dogs, February 22nd, right? The pilot's up right now.
Yeah.
The full 10 episodes, Amazon, February 22nd?
February 22nd, that whole thing, all 10 episodes are going to be made available to you. I promise you now, Don't watch it on your way to class. Sit down and plan to be hooked for 10 episodes. I'm not even kidding. You can't sit. It's, you know what it's like? It's like good weed. You can't just take one hit. You're gonna have to I don't smoke. I'm just playing, but
I was like, where's that?
no, vaporizers. No, I'm playing. I don't smoke. But you can't just sit down and watch one. So really, etch out a moment to sit down and watch it and then begin. Because if not, you're going to be distracted.
Absolutely. Romany, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank
It's been a pleasure talking to you.